Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi, welcome everyone to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. And as usual, on the show with me is my colleague.
Hi everyone, I'm Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, the other co-creator. And as we promised, it's a 2-for-1 show. So yes, we recorded the same 2 shows in one, so we in the same place, in the same clothes, everything.
In case you were wondering,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a really, really exciting show again. And, you know, we continue this discussion with Maureen Bowen, and it is all about, you know, the financial aspect and advocacy, you know, to tie in the entire program. And, you know, Maureen going to take a different aspect. You know, when we talk financial, we always talk about how much money you put aside and all that. No. It's a nice, a different way.
The psychology of money, what money means to us.
Yeah,
yes.
That emotional aspect. So yeah, so here we go.
And we remind you again, we have a coming after this series, our forum.
Yeah.
Yes, so you're gonna get more information. So
not just sit back and relax, eh? Please respond. Let us hear your views and what you think.
Great. So on to the next part. Let's talk about what money means to us. Great.
Okay, friends and followers. So we had that first part, and we continue in the second part with Maureen Bowen, our psychologist on board right now with us. And you know, that first part was so interesting, and it leads us now to talk about, you know, the financial aspect and advocacy, because this is so important to us as we transition, as we plan and make some critical decisions. So, Maureen, thanks again for remaining and continuing the discussion. So let's start. Maureen, you know, I came out of the financial sector there. So when it coming about financial and thing, wow, it's bigger, it's big. And we're going to try to cover a lot of the critical aspects in this 1 hour, you know. So Maureen, many times, you know, before any stage we're at, you hear the complaint about people don't know how to plan their life. They can't manage their money because money wasn't taught. Money management wasn't taught in many of the homes, definitely not at the schools, etc. So when we reach this stage in life, if all before we haven't been managing money properly, it is a real difficult task at this stage, when we no longer earning that income, where many of us would have all our savings, etc., will have been depleted, you know, paying off certain loans, clearing off certain things, holidaying and having a good time, right? But yes, it is important, and I would really like to share in your, you know, in your profession, how critical it is, or how not planning your finances properly, how it could really affect us at this stage.
Right. So one of the things I think I want to start off this conversation with is by saying that I hear people talk about planning, and you, Jennifer, over the years, you've talked to me a lot about planning and money management. But I think what a lot of people don't talk about is the emotional attachment associated with money.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Right? And that
Mhm.
creates a real problem when money doesn't run the way it used to. Either because we didn't plan well, nor we are no longer in the financial working environment, or our assets um, had to be utilized because of health situations, or children, grandchildren, or even well-wishers who found themselves in distress, and we looking at ourselves thinking that we better than, or that we really not assessing the fact that because we have good health today, good health isn't guaranteed tomorrow. Um, we don't have a sense of um, what money is supposed to do for us as we continue on our journey.
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? I'm saying also because, and this is a real tricky thing for a lot of us who have children. We think that we've invested so much in our children, and our children are far better off than we are in terms of economics and finances, that we think that this is their turn now to step up and certainly continue to facilitate a lifestyle to which we have grown accustomed. Many of us are sorely disappointed when we recognize that those persons are not willing to take up that mantle one. And sometimes even those same children turn and say, but you earn so much money in your lifetime. How it is now you dependent on me, or why it is you don't have? How you don't have? You know, and it creates a real disturbance within ourselves and within our support units. And so I think that the discussion we have to have is that we have to move away from what we would have liked to have in terms of money and support, and the comforts that money was supposed to create, and actually work with the money that we do have and what it would afford us, and how we could still be happy and comfortable and contented in that realm. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because I used to hear people talk about that too, that your health is your wealth. And I know that firsthand from having had certain health challenges. And even though, you know, you may have gotten support from the public health system, there were certain things that you had to, in fact, pay for.
Yeah.
And even if you had insurance, there were still certain things that would require a large quantum of a fixed income, because it is
Oh, yes.
very, and I think that's where we have to shift our mindset from living in the mindset where we could have earned an added additional revenue to support our lifestyles versus um, what we have is what we have, and therefore the challenges that we have in this lifestyle will have to be supported by the revenue that we have. Right? So, and this
Yeah.
is why we have to talk about that. The other reason we have to talk about it too is that some of us may have the expectations that our children will keep us living with them, or or even if we live in our own homes, that they will finance whatever our needs are until we close our eyes. I think that is an unrealistic expectation. So for a lot of us, we are, and this is why we have to talk about this, we would now have to be looking at if certain challenges continue to be consistent, or if for whatever reason we have to change our living and social situations and accommodations, then we have to start looking around and seeing what the revenue that we have, what would it afford us, right? And if it is that we have assets, even if we would have liked to have given those assets to children, well-wishers, or whoever, we now will have to look at those assets realistically to see how it will facilitate the quality of our lives. And once we are gone, well, they can do with what they wish, right? Rather than hoping, because you've had a conversation with those persons, that they will in fact your wishes will be adhered to and that they will take the best care of you. Because I think a lot of us don't recognize that we may find ourselves in a position where we're not even able to say what we want. And if we have not said it before, then people will be in a quandary and they will be fighting for what we have as opposed to utilizing what we have to take care of us until we are gone and that kind of thing. So this is why we must have this conversation about our assets. And I like to talk about assets. I don't want to only talk about solid liquid. Some of us have assets that we keep holding on to because we want to give it to this one and give it to that one and give it to the other one. I have a philosophy, and my son is well aware of the philosophy. Whatever I have, I will spend, and whatever remain, you're welcome to it, right? But I've made up my mind. And that's why we have to open these conversations to everybody. And it's not like you don't care and you're trying to lock people out of the inheritance, or you're trying to use that as a manipulative tool to see, well, who will stay around because of what they could get and whatever. All that is folly, right? The fact is, I'm looking at the quality of my life. I recognize I'm going to have certain needs. I have certain assets, and those assets have to be utilized to ensure my comfort at the level that I'm at, because I've earned it. It is mine. And once I'm no longer here, well, then I have no control over that. Enjoy. And if there's nothing, but you didn't invest in it anyway, and you didn't have to put nothing anyhow, so you didn't lose. As a matter of fact, you came out a beneficiary because you have an education, you have your house, you have your family, you have everything that you could now build for yourself. And I'm teaching again that this is the way it is, so that you will know you have to work and build and get your act together for when your turn comes.
There's also another point, because that discussion too goes out. What are you to do and how are you to do it, and don't wait for my stuff. But I think one of the things and it comes back to the pride and the shame and the whole perception of who we are, is a base reality of financial literacy, that fixed income people are not wealthy people.
Correct.
Fixed income people are able to, and most of us are fixed income people, and most of us had no interest or intention of being amongst the variable income people, because it meant we had to go on sales and be commission people. Jennifer, you know the story of that and how people look down on sales people. Or we have to burn your belly and start a business, and businesses don't generate wealth until it gets probably into the second generation or something. So most of us, being fixed income people, were able to live a standard of life knowing that there's another paycheck coming, and you could, for a string of months, live above your means and then adjust, whether it's end of year bonus or whatever, or you carry a credit card, or you do some kind of stuff. And when that day finishes and you now become fixed income on half the income because you're a pensioner, it creates a lot of confusion, because the life that you are believing defines you is now impossible. And I am taking the money back to our topic before, which really you look around to see, so who is the surrogate to continue
That's correct.
This life? It's not that you don't realize it's now a dream. And you that's where you get angry, that's where you get mad, and that's where the entitlement comes in and all that. So I think one of the first things we have to do is to understand there are very, very few fixed income people, and most of us were fixed income people. And I don't care how high that income was. You might have a residual that lasts 3, 4, 5 years, but you see, outside of the 5 years,
Yeah.
adjusted. Yeah, just
Back to reality.
Unless you start to sell assets. Most of us, being fixed income people, were not wealthy. Our job and job perks probably allowed us a lot of travel, lunch, dinners, lunches, socialization, and all kinds of stuff that we built into our personas. And now that we are not there, we have a problem because you really thought that was you. And it wasn't you, it was what you were on that stage. And I'm bringing it back to inside of us and what's going on in our heads. What is your net worth? What is your cash flow? What is your income flow? And therefore, what is a life that you could really afford? As you said, Maureen, you know, who am I now? Not what I used to be, how much shoes I could buy a month, how I could travel, how I could do and adjust. You know, we behave like it's only happening to us. It's happening to everybody. And, you know, we go back into that past discussion and money therefore becomes one of the reasons that we are so frustrated that we feel things are falling apart, because when you listen to the story, it's a money story. The children taking my money. I have to spend all my money on them. But what we are doing is keeping up appearances that can no longer be sustained. Let the children continue to do what they could do because you've brought them to this point and you adjust. You have assets. How are you going to continue living? You know, what are the decisions you have to make to continue living at your current status?
Yeah, I think one of the other things that we have to discuss and certainly start to allow people to recognize that because your net worth is not where it used to be, it doesn't negate nor minimize your net worth, right? Because some people believe that if they're not able to financially contribute and continue to be the person on whom everybody else relies, then they are not worth anything, right? And a lot of us are very codependent on other people's opinions of us, as well as this whole sense of being the giver or the author of all of these kinds of economic transactions. Because remember, people would come to you when you were in your principled position, which is whatever your profession was. Everybody or a lot of people would rely on you, even your colleagues, your associates, your church people, everybody, because that's the person who has made it, quote unquote. So if you made it, how come because you're in your 70s, 80s, and 90s, you would have lost it? You have to come to terms with the fact that you didn't lose it, you use it, right?
Oh, for shame, you have to sell your house. You have to sell your car. You have to get rid of this. Oh my God.
Or that everybody else going on a European cruise, and you say, look, I can't afford to do that. But in fact, I did enjoy X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and you don't have to give a justification for that. But again, a lot of that comes with the fact that you are not comfortable in your own skin, and you never really got to know who you are. You were defined by everybody and everything, and now you there, and the job, yeah, and now you're trying to figure out where's your space in the world, where's your role in the world, where's the meaning of you living as opposed to existing, and this is why it's important for people talk to like-minded people about not only the challenges associated with money, but how you can use whatever resources. And people like to talk about the resources and talk about limits. Resources are limitless. They're limitless based on your perception of what you have to do with your resources, and your resources are not defined by your income, right? Because a lot of our resources go way beyond just our dollars and cents.
Maureen, I totally, I could relate to that aspect, that emotional aspect, and changing how we plan or how we see money at this stage. Because for me, that is something that affected me because, being in a field and you see money meant a lot of things. Money meant status. Money meant you can do so many things and you feel proud when you achieve, etc. And I recall at the stage when I realized, hey, you don't have any money, the kind of money you're talking about to do things. You can no longer do those things and you have X amount of years ahead of you. And I always recall, and I told Terry and that once, I was really, very, very low in terms of the financial situation. And I remember chatting with my mother about it. So I have just about very early 60s, I probably just reached that stage, looking at my retirement or transition. And my mother said, look at you. You always talking and advising people about money, etc. And look at how you reach. And that deflated my ego. And I forgot all the good I did, and I started to see myself now as a failure. Now, I didn't stay in that place for long. But what I'm saying is I can really relate how easy it is for us when we reach this stage where you don't have that income coming in as before and you have to live on less and not be able to do certain things. It emotionally, it is draining. So what you said earlier, not looking at financial planning aspect, but looking at your relationship, emotional state with money, that is critical for us at this stage.
Yeah, because I'll tell you something too, Jennifer. The thing about it is that for a lot of us, I think we have to, and again, this is why you have these one-on-one conversations with people and stuff like that. We never think about how better off we are than so many others who are in a similar situation as us and who can't even get to the place of being able to make a decision about money, about anything for that matter, right? They have found themselves, and I always say that people don't place themselves in those situations. You find yourself because they didn't do the work, and sometimes they did the work, but a lot of the things that you worked on did not bear fruit, or there were levels of disappointment, or other things came because life was life and things changed for you and that kind of thing. So to me, what we're trying to get people to recognize is not to backpedal into, well, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and if this and if that and if the other. We want to get people to a place that is $100 is whatever and whatever. It is $100, it's whatever and whatever. But we are alive and we have to use that to the benefit of our wellness. Right? Yeah. The benefit of our wellness.
Yep.
Because illness will come. But that's what we have, and those are the resources available to us. And therefore, we have to use that to benefit our wellness in spite of other people's challenges. Because that's a problem we have to at our age. We leave ourselves undone to take care of everybody else in the hope that they will one day reciprocate and we just keep depreciating what we have as ours, and then we find that the persons to whom we've allocated our limited resources do not even, well, I don't want to say that they don't care, but sometimes it appears as if they don't care. But in fact, they are doing what they are doing because you gave them permission to do it, because you handed them in your soul, mind, and body what you had. So there's the presumption that there's more where that comes from. So you are not without.
Yeah. You know, one of the other things that I think, and it's a money story, and this is something that Jennifer and I talk about a lot. We don't, money is cash. Money is a bank account. And I think we do and I empathize with, I wasn't too empathetic on the mindset thing, but I'm empathetic on this here. That many of us don't recognize how we've used assets, limited assets, income. I mean, we didn't start where a lot of us retired on a $8,000 salary or whatever it is. But we don't know how to look and see what that salary delivered. We don't know how to convert. All right, so if I don't have cash money, I have no money. We don't know how to see that stream of income created a home. That stream of income educated children, so now they don't have to depend on you. Even if in your head you still have to do so much, and they ain't taking care of themselves as you want them to. They ain't taking care of the children as you want them to. They're not driving the car you want them to. But they are in a place that they can be independent because of you. And also, we keep knocking ourselves. I hear people talk about how they've not been successful, or they didn't do as well, or they're regretting so much in life because of some crazy image in their head, and they're not realizing, here you are, retired. Yes, you have the hypertension and the diabetes and you my good friend is dealing with her cancer diagnosis or heart or whatever it is. But you can manage it, and you are managing it, and you are living. You are still living. You can plan for tomorrow. And we just love this narrative of a catching the tail. I don't have. I don't have. You have. And we don't know how to see where did the money go, what did it do, and how those things are contributing to our well-being. And it comes again, you're looking outside and comparing yourself to others. You're looking at what somebody else is wearing, driving, how they're going on holidays or whatever, without a clue as to the decisions they are making, what they decided not to have and to have. Instead of looking inside and saying, I've worked all these years and I've built a pretty decent life, so I could relax. You know?
Yeah.
Why can't we relax?
Right. So I want to kind of expand again. I like to expand your thinking, because you are my critical thinker. Jennifer is my she's my support. She's a good landing place. She always positive, but my critical thinker rattling my cages. Wonderful. Let me tell you, part of the challenge really is about letting go. Right? Because when you're building your empire, you had a particular perception, and like there was this false sense of security. I like to call it a false sense. If anything makes you real, is aging.
Yeah.
Because as you said, everything collapsing, but and the thing is, it may not be collapsing all at once, but the financials are usually the pillars that will support the future, right? And that's the thing that's collapsing first. For some people, it may be health, but in a lot of instances, your finance would facilitate in a lot of instances the quality of care that you could afford to look forward to and nurture and assist you with, right? So for a lot of people as well, they don't want to lose anything that they work hard for to build. They don't recognize that you work hard to build those things to use them now at a time where you no longer are able to work to build. We're not in the building stage
But
anymore.
to consume.
What to consume, exactly, right? So that, like, so for example, like I am diabetic and I don't eat certain things. And I mean, of course, I can, but I choose not to. But it's not that I did not enjoy it when I did. So now I have to change. I choose to change. I don't have to. Because I have colleagues who continue to eat and take the insulin. I don't want to go there. But I choose to change because I don't want to get, God willing, to the level of insulin. Correct? And this is my thing. We have to open people's mindset to the fact that you could advocate for yourself. You are an authentic human being, and you could make certain choices that will enhance the quality of your life. And I'm not saying improve, I'm saying enhance, right? One of which is looking at your assets, and even if you have to you're challenged to get rid of or to use those assets for your health and wellness and to support your continuance, it is not a loss.
Yeah.
It is thank God that you have an asset. Correct, right? And it's like we, as we spoke, Terry and Jennifer. So, for example, why do I want to live in a house by myself, which is an albatross? If I have certain situations presenting for me, why don't I want to go around and see? But there are plenty assisted living facilities and a lot of places that are developing that have, activities and events and other people of like mind as myself. Why do I not want to bring my children together and say, listen, I'm not coming by none of all. But I have looked around, and in my infinite wisdom, when that time comes, this asset, I am going to do what is necessary so that I will go X to live or Y to live. Who choose to come, welcome. Who don't choose to come, you know where I am. They will call you when that time comes. But we can't have those conversations with people who matter. We can't, right? I distinctly remember my father said to all of us, whoever wants this property, fight for it. I found that I just could not believe that a man who had worked that hard and who was, he was not uneducated. But, we summed those kinds of things out. I don't know, in his infinite wisdom, God rest his soul, what his thinking was, and I never asked him because in my mind it wasn't relevant for me, but I have seen behavioral changes in siblings as a result of that statement, and the statement comes up all the time, right? And so that is the reason I like to talk about finance as well, because I want people to understand you have to exercise mindfulness around the conversation of your assets, because they are your assets, and those assets, as I said, are supposed to ensure to some degree that the quality of the life that you have worked for, you can now enjoy. And that is why too that people have to start looking at themselves as well and saying, well, what do I want for me? Not looking at my grandchildren, you have to do ballet and who have to do music and who who have to go to university, and that is not my responsibility. That is the responsibility of the parents. My responsibility and the onus is on me, taking care of me and ensuring that what I have worked hard for over all of those years, whatever is residual, that it supports the quality of life that I'm comfortable with, and that that I don't leave it in somebody else's hand for them to advocate for me and say, well, there's all you want, or there's all you should get, or there's all you could get after we get X, Y, and Z. Right? No.
Maureen, plenty of us are generalizing here. See that as they think it's selfish because, as you said, for all the years they have been giving and doing, and feels that at this stage they have to leave something for the children. They have to make sure that they're comfortable, and in doing that, they just send that message that you don't need, that you're okay, it's all right. You all and you said it before, you touched on it before in our first segment, where you said, I at this stage, I all right, I don't need anything. Some people say I'm in the waving gallery. So it is your time, my time finished.
They start to manipulate.
Correct.
As you say, hinders you tend not to merely make the rest of your life the best of the best time of your life, that sort of thing.
Correct.
And we have to, again, that is reconditioning your mind. That is really where people have to be truthful to themselves and say, you know what, I really want to enjoy life. I really find at this stage I should be happy, being treated nicely, doing these things. And because they're not happy, you're doing it, but deep within, they're not happy about their lives. And that is, again, and this is why we are here, in terms of speaking openly, but also encouraging our cohort, those people who feel that if they're being truthful to themselves, they realize they have to do some change. You mentioned change. We have to look at changes that we should make to really enjoy this stage in our lives. And to do that, we need to reach out. We need to get involved in a group, forum, people of like mind, as you said, and stop complaining and stop giving up, as you said. Just giving and not thinking of self.
Right.
Oh, you have the case of Jennifer, if I could just say, you have the case of those who have their pensions accumulating in an account somewhere.
Yeah,
and they're living in hell. They wouldn't change the stove, change the fridge, get a comfortable chair for yourself, get a what? And that pension holding up, and it is being held like a ransom to say, all right, let me see who treated me good.
Yeah.
Who treated me good? And every time you living a terrible life. What's that?
And then there are people as well. And I mean, when I look at this, they do not mandate that their children who are employable work. I know a number of people who have adult children who they continue to take care of on their pension or on their fixed income. And I ask the question, well, where does that person work? And they say, well, he or she can't find a job, or he or she can't keep a job. And I say to them, they can't because they have you. But here's what you're doing. What you are doing is enabling a situation that once you are no longer here, any asset that you may give to them, they will lose because you never taught how to manage, how to live independently, what disappointment is, how to do it out, what is delayed gratification. And so once you have left them, then they are now at the mercy of the world, and they are going to hate you for it, because at the end of the day, the things that you thought were your goodness and your kindness have now worked against you.
Yeah.
Who wants to have that conversation with anybody? When we have those conversations, it's normally in pockets, like we meet, or people might say, "Oh gosh, I'm feeling sorry for Maureen. Yes, I meet her and she couldn't even do this and she couldn't that," and you say, well, why can't she? What is happening with her and whatever? And you say, that fella, that fella, who fella are you talking about? How old is that fella? Why is that fella still there? What's going on there, right? So even that is a conversation that we have to have with people on an individual basis as well, because I don't know why people feel a sense of responsibility for persons who they may have, and I don't know, and I'm saying that genuinely, I don't know who they would have nurtured and who they would have developed and who they would have supported through their transition, that they now must continue to eat out of whatever limited resources or assets you have, through your transition, to the point where you may not even be able to take care of yourself later on, nor take care of them either.
Yeah.
Nor take care of them either. So this is why we have those conversations. The other thing too is that the reason I like to talk about finance with people as well is the fact that many people are stuck in where they're at in this life, not thinking about what happens after, right? So like if you ask people about, have you made arrangements for the final resting place, or what is to happen with your assets, or is anybody even aware that you have assets? No, I'm not telling them nothing. No, I'm trying to something else. They tell them, and before you know it, everything done. So I said, if they're not in a position to be able to support your minimizing, because we minimizing as we going along, older and older, we minimizing. Don't you recognize that also affects the quality of your life? Because they will give you what they could afford, when in fact you could have been giving yourself what you have put away for you at that stage of your life. And for a lot of people, that's an eye opener, because they just want to sit down on whatever they have. They just feel, well, look, that's mine. That's the other thing with people too. It's about mine. You hear people talk about, my house and my car and my, but they really, why you have those things? Why you have them? Is there an emotional attachment to them? Is that who defines who you are? Is that your way of saying to society that you have been constructive and useful, and you've in fact achieved something? And that's why we have to have these conversations, because different things mean different things to different people, right? So I may look at somebody in a particular situation and say that they have no right to be there. I will be out of place, because I not live in that situation. I do not know what's happening, but I can open the conversation with them to find out why they find themselves in that situation, and certainly offer some options and alternatives or suggestions that would afford them the opportunity to start looking at their situation differently, and to see how they could exercise their rights and flex their muscles and be able to make things more comfortable for the quality of your life. Because that's something too that we have to talk about. People look at quantity, I look at quality, because tomorrow was promised to no man. But a lot of us are just holding on and holding on and holding on. Holding on to what? For what? Right? When the quality of your life is disappearing before you, and you sit there expecting somebody else to fix it. I don't know who is this fictitious somebody else, because they're not coming. I'm telling you today, the somebody else is not coming. They're living their best life. They're not coming, right? Half of them not even coming to your funeral. So they're not coming. Okay? So you are the one who have to advocate for you. You have to account for your wellness. You have to account for your finances. You have to look at your assets. You have to determine just for today, I am going to use whatever I have available to me to enhance the quality of my life as I see my life today.
Maureen, I just want to add to that, and from what Terry Ann also said. So we save for retirement. We put aside money and we say that's for retirement. And we get into retirement and we don't want to touch that money. No. You know, we find everything too expensive. And Terry has said it is a fact. You know, you need to buy something comfortable for yourself. You say, no, that's too expensive. Everything too expensive.
A recliner.
But a pair of shoes.
Good
I have
shoes.
seen people who need to have proper shoes who continue to wear things that was for a time when this is not the season for that. But if somebody buy it, they love it. But nobody has the assets, and even if they do, you're not high on the totem pole. Why you not buying your shoe and be comfortable and modeling it and wearing it and enjoying it? Why? What stops you?
Not going to a specialist or anything because they find specialists too expensive.
They're drinking bush.
Correct. Yeah, and even like the other day, I told somebody I bought a mattress, and they say, but at this stage, what wrong with the mattress? Buy a mattress topper. I said, well, you had to be crazy. Because, I mean, you know, you sleep more than you wake. I say, when people come back to come to pick me up, them had to see the kind of comfort that I come out of and will put me in a similar kind of comfort. That's where I go in. Why it is that whatever quality life I have, I cannot sleep properly. Why?
Yes.
Why? And the other thing that I want to bring to the fore too is that you have the power of decision making. Yes. We give up our power of decision making at this stage and do not do it. Do not do it. You have got to represent for yourself, and you don't have to give no excuse, no explanation, no justification, no nothing. This is my assets. I would like so and so and so. I'm not asking you to do nothing. You come and you see it. You better say, but that's real nice. And of course you'll hear them say, who you leaving that for? Right? That's what you hear from people. You know, I see a buys also, who you leaving that for? You know, and you have to have a response. I'm not leaving this to anybody. I am enjoying this now. This is something that I'm comfortable with or I want, and you done the talk right there. Yeah. But no, we don't go there. We go in, well, you know, Maureen was always the one who would help and was kind, and she's come every day. Right? So I figure, well, you know, she earned that. Maureen didn't earn anything. You earned it. It's yours. You're comfortable with it. I'm happy that you're happy. It makes me happy to know that I don't have to be the one to purchase it or to provide it or whatever, that you could still take care of yourself. You're prepared. But we have to start advocating like that and not feel guilty and embarrassed and ashamed, right? Gone are the days where you wearing panties that don't have a proper string. No, you feel go on the thing, you see nice panty and thing. I don't care. I tell people at this age, anything I buy, I wear in it. Everybody else get hand-me-downs, right? And I don't need a whole two set of things, but whatever I have, I am enjoying it. And we were talking about that. I want nobody give me no plate and no spoon and no Pyrex and no this and no that. You ask me what I would like to have. You ask me that.
Yeah.
And I will tell you what I would like to have. Right? But that comes with a sense of knowing who you are, comfortable in your own skin, knowing also that you wish to enjoy a particular quality of life and that you're not dependent on other people to provide that for you, that you can in fact provide it for yourself.
Definitely.
Don't be a visitor to your show. Don't be a spectator on your stage.
On your life.
Be the player.
Couldn't say it
Be
better.
the actor.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing I want to add, Maureen, before we close, is that, some of us remain ignorant in that they don't want to find out things. You're discussing, if you have to discuss, to call it the last expenses or what you do, they say, okay, they won't even find out what it costs to be in a nursing home. They won't even find out what it costs for someone a caregiver or who offering things. This is time we need to get certain information, start to investigate. They just don't do it. And when time comes, and I know recently there's a situation where someone called me for some information for a friend who suddenly in a bedridden and still pretty young. And I am asking her, I said, why are you going about to get that? She has 3 big children to deal with. She has a daughter, a big daughter living with her. And she said, well, the daughter don't know what to do. And I said to she never discussed these things with her. No, and she and all don't know this and you don't know that. So I'm just saying that we have to go out there and get information, different type information, because it is important for us to know when time comes, what is the cost, and let the children leave some kind of guidance. This is what you're all supposed to do. This is who you could call, this is what is happening, etc. So I just want to highlight, because that's a point.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that we have to become is our priority for ourselves. We are everybody else's everybody else is our priority.
I think
we are not prioritizing ourselves.
And I think also, and Jennifer, to continue on that point that you've made, and this is something that I am seeing left, right, and center. When we make decisions and we make plans, we had a big declaration when we were 60 and we retired and we were high on the horse. And this is what I want, and this is what I want, and this is what I want. Whether you write it down, whether you went and check to see and you know the costs and you determine whether you could afford it, that's one thing. But you see this thing called disability. Jennifer, you've always said, disability is worse than death. If you get a heart attack and you're dead, it's done. They'll quarrel about the house, they'll quarrel about different things. But sometimes we are so narrowly focused on continuing the good life. We do not think of incapacity, stroke, kidney disease, losing a limb because of diabetes, glaucoma, blindness, suddenly getting deaf because of all kinds of things. We believe that we will continue to be immortal until the day we suddenly go and we off to whoever the creator is. And we do not sit down and say, all right, this is the scenario of the good life. I will stay in my house and I will stay in the 5-bedroom house by myself and I will maintain it. I'm not going to sell it and look for something smaller. I'm not going to look at the homes. But do we ask ourselves, if we look around now, today, who abroad, who migrate, the grandchildren have their own life. If we are suddenly made disabled because of a stroke, because of a broken hip, break your hip and you're in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And how are we going to live? These are questions that have huge financial implications. And if we only allow ourselves to think about it, we would realize that a discussion on what is possible and what is not possible is urgent and perhaps overdue. And we may also realize that because of the current circumstances, the children that we're boasting about and proud about and all that have their own lives and they're not in a position to help. So what are we going to do? And it's not because of malice, it's just because of the world we live in. What are we going to do? You know, you can't manipulate people out of that. You have to decide, perhaps now it's time for me to scale down, scale back, and be real.
And again, it doesn't diminish your worth. And again, I think one of the thinkings that we have to become comfortable with is the fact that as it is now, we are differently abled.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Because, and it does, I'm not waiting to get a stroke or this or that or the other. As it is now, I am differently abled. Because the things that I could have done previously, I can no longer do. And if I can, not to the capacity that I did it before. So I have to also bring my mindset into a place where I start to look to see what resources I need, what is available to me, what those resources cost, and certainly who would be the best person to execute when that time comes. And I'm not talking about death, I'm talking about life.
Yeah.
Right? Because it, as you said, Terry-Ann, everybody willing but they're weak. And the thing is that people have a right to live their lives the way they choose. Because I'm differently abled, I don't find that I have to force anybody to live my life or to live vicariously through me because I made certain choices and decisions. And that is why, again, I say that people have to have like minds, have to come together and become a resource for each other and help people to fill in those gaps that they have and certainly not only shed light as it relates to information, but I see you all do that too. You all have outings, you all have different activities and all of those things. And those things are valuable in terms of your net worth and also to give you a sense of perspective that you never get weary yet. It ain't over till it's over, right? Because those kinds of activities say that, in fact, I'm still able to go, right? And a lot of people too have to come out of the mindset of limitation when it comes to aging and transitioning. We are not limited, right? In fact, what we are is that we're more concise because we recognize how precious what we have is. And we don't spread it all over the place and waste it all over the place and just, allow other people to benefit and enjoy it, right? We know, look, this is a precious resource. And it's getting scarcer and scarcer the longer that I live, but it ought not to impede the quality of my life. And I know that the quality of my life also, I have to be prepared to change it and to review it and to reflect on it as I continue to grow older, right? Because certain things will, you can't compartmentalize it, but certain things will take more of your resources and other things will take less, but it doesn't minimize your worth, and it certainly doesn't say that the quality of your life should depreciate because of it, right? So we have a lot of work to do in ensuring that we could take care of ourselves with the support of others.
I want to take up that point because I'm looking at our time and this show seemed to have flown faster than the first show because we are down to 53 minutes. And I love that point that you made, that we have work to do. And one of the things that Jennifer and I realize is that this is a discussion amongst ourselves, but we know that many of you all out there, we are raising things last week and this week that is touching you and causing you to say, God, I wish I could say this or that. We have said that we will be having a forum where in a small group, we will have Maureen on board with like-minded people. Many of you all have attended our forums before. Maureen, what will someone be able to do with you in our private forum, which will be online? how can they carry this forward?
Well, I think there are a few things that I would like people to get out of it, right? One is to get to a place where they come out of the cycle of denial and actually recognize that they worth something and that they have work to do and there are certain things that they would like to do. So then they come prepared to talk about the things that where the gaps are and things that ail them and things that they need to fix. The other thing too is that to improve on their communication with the rest of the world, because I think that when you talk about advocacy, you have to be comfortable in your own skin and you have to be able to know which words and what triggers would elicit certain behaviors in others and in yourself, and what would shut you down and what wouldn't shut you down. And the third thing is for people to recognize that, even though we are aging gracefully, but we still have a voice, and that our assets ought to be used to facilitate the quality of the life that we choose to have for as long as God allows us to have that life. Right? So those are the kinds of conversations that I'm hoping. And any other business that people may raise, because coming out of our discussions, there were maybe things that are peculiar to an individual that they thought about but never had the bravado to be able to vocalize, or they didn't think it was significant or important, but coming out of these discussions they recognize that it is, and they want to bring it to fruition, or to be able to be comfortable with it, or to even finalize certain things, so that we will then be able to direct them to the resources that are available for them to do that, and they can ask a question.
How to cope with certain situations.
How to cope, exactly, or how to even design certain things. Yeah. But coming out of our discussions too, I think that people have to also design their watchwords. What are your watchwords for your life? And that really guides a lot of your decision making, and how you see you and how you see others and stuff. We all should have watchwords that would support the decisions that we make in our lives, and how we live the quality of the life that we have. It really will say, this is how I see me. At the end of the day, nobody tells me who I am. I know who I am, and I'm working on being the better version of me, and that's all there is.
Great. We have really covered a lot, and it definitely calls for forum. Maybe beyond the forum, those who attend the forum may even want to go further and do one-on-one with Maureen, because the areas that have been covered so critical, and we could expand it on and on. So Maureen, as usual, we thank you so much.
You're welcome, anytime.
Yeah, for sharing so much, for opening our eyes and ears to how much that we need to do a lot. We need to do a lot
to do.
Happy on this stage, and I really glad that you also agreed to facilitate the forum for us and to extend your services to those who want to have individual.
Viewers, you will be getting information from Jennifer and I very soon about the dates and times of the forum. There's so much that we need to examine, and all we can say for now is, Maureen, thank you, but we'll be in touch very soon.
You're more than welcome. Yeah.
Whoa, Jennifer. Money is so tied into the psyche.
We need that forum, because it had me thinking, I do a lot of thinking in terms of your financial aspect, always looking at for a positive outcome, etc. But many of the points Maureen made there, it is applicable to to everybody, whether you feel you have money or you don't have money, whether you feel you have it made. But listen, we need to do some introspection and really look to see where we are, if we are happy with where we are. And you know, the suggestions Maureen has made to help us along the way, hi, we need to take a lot of notes. You know, so I'm really happy with this second part, which leads us to that forum. Listen, y'all, get serious. We need to do something and take action.
Definitely. So remember, in this forum, you will have the chance to be more direct with Maureen, asking her your questions, getting guidance on how you can perhaps face challenges. And we will be giving you information about dates and times. As usual, it's going to be on Zoom, confidential. Keep your camera off if you don't want to. Change your name if you want to. You know how
I recall last forum, you know, we had those who were asking, can we use other name? Yes, anything to make you comfortable.
Anything, definitely, definitely. So we will see you soon next week with another exciting program as we prepare for Life on the Third Act. And stay tuned.
And we have some good news for you coming up too. Yeah.
Yes. It's independence, and we have to celebrate.
Yes.
We missed no, it's independence. So and emancipation. Okay.
So we plan something for independence for you. Yeah.
Great. So take care. Bye. Happy aging.
Okay.
50 Plus Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.